Hey there, and welcome to Think Good Conversations. I'm your host, Deb Cummins Stellato. Today, I wanted to talk about the word resilience because we are being pushed right now at this time to be resilient in ways that I'm sure in my lifetime we have not been as a country, as a world, and of course as people. And so I wanted to jump in today and share again another observation of what I'm seeing in the world through my Think Good leadership lens, which is that on a very micro level, people are exhausted. And I started to think about this week, and one of the reasons they're so exhausted is the cumulative impact of that yucky word, the great resignation, right? So people recreated their jobs during the pandemic, then they lost support people. Now they're in hybrid work environments and they're heading back to the office and they don't necessarily have the support systems in place that they need. So, what's happened is, as usual, instead of taking the perspective that we can take care of ourselves and our mental health and our mindset, we have decided to cram more things, more and more and more things into our lives. And so that exhaustion then leads to an overwhelm. That overwhelm really creates a mental resignation, right? And I started talking last week about this concept of a great reset. And I wanted to talk about why I use the word courage so much in the work that I do. And, quite honestly, for those of you who don't know my story, 3 years ago when I started my business, or I came up with the idea of my business and the importance of courage in my life, I was going through a pretty rough time. The Reader's Digest version is I literally have been dealing with change, pivots, tragedy relentlessly for over 3 years. I lost my parents within 364 days. My mom died from a traumatic brain injury that I had found her after she had fallen. And 364 days later, my dad died of a disease that I saw take over his body, Parkinson's, for 15 years. And 6 months after that, we were in a COVID pandemic. And I don't need to tell you that now we're dealing with this international crisis that is almost impossible to watch, impossible to bear. And so I get it, right? And at first I thought, well, resilience. I'm going to talk about resilience on my show. But resilience to me feels like it comes out of this ongoing strain and also is more around forcefully getting through a situation. I'm resilient against that, right? Courage is more turning towards something. And I look at bravery as like an event. He or she was brave during that time. Courage is the word that really captures the mindset part of things. And courage in my life and world, and the women that I work with and the nonprofits that I work with, courage is a mindset. Courage is something that gets practiced every day. But I think what is so important and what I wanted to share with all of you on this episode is that it's okay right now. Wherever you are as a leader in your life, as a leader in the world, as a leader in your community. And the only way that you're going to start waking up feeling a little bit better every day is realize that we are wired to be resilient, right? We wouldn't be here if we weren't resilient. There are people who've gone before us that have stories of resilience. There are people who will come after us that have stories of resilience. We can do this. We can do hard things. So we can acknowledge where we're feeling, and we can have the courage to push through and be resilient. And when called to, we can also be brave. And so during this incredibly unnerving, anxious time, I just want you to remember that mindset is a muscle. Mindset is a muscle. And to lean into a leadership mindset, to lean into an energy mindset, we need to be willing to work on it every day. Realize where we are and the gap to where we want to go, and figure out really. Somebody told me something so profound last week that I can't stop thinking about it. And she said, the hardest thing for us to do, the longest trip, is the 18 inches between our heads and our hearts. So knowing instinctively we'll get through this is one thing. Feeling like I can be resilient is one thing. But having the courage to act on something is entirely different. So today I'm encouraging you to continue to work on that courageous mindset during this time.